Welcome to the Alchemy for Authors podcast. I'm your host, Jo Buer. If you're an author, aspiring author, writer, or wordsmith, you're in the right place. Join me as I chat with authors and industry professionals and share my own experiences with using manifestation and mindset practices to supercharge our writing lives. We'll explore ways to overcome writer's block and imposter syndrome. We'll find motivation and inspiration to get our butts in the chair and our stories written. And most importantly, we'll embark on creating lives and livings doing what we love. If you've ever dreamed of a prolific, wealthy, happy or healthy author career or writing practice, then this show is for you. So let's dive into Alchemy for Authors. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to another episode of Alchemy for Authors. This is episode 61, AI Enhanced Plotting and Selling Direct with Carissa Andrews. So this episode might create a little bit of controversy because my guest and I are talking about artificial intelligence and how it can be utilized by authors. Now, here's the disclaimer. I am not saying that I agree with particular ways that it has already been used in certain industries. And this is not an episode about how to write a book using AI. This is an episode about how AI can assist in plotting and world building and in creating series concepts. So it is about using AI as a tool, and it's about using it in a way that feels ethically, morally comfortable for you. So one of the beliefs that I do prescribe to is that with any new technology, we need to come at it from a stance of being curious and informed. I think those are the two main things that we really need to look at anything new. I think it's really good to be curious about new technologies, to explore them, have a bit of a play, see how they operate. And in doing so, we also become a little bit better informed because let's face it, in this day and age, there are so many ideas out there beyond just AI that are coming from perspectives that really aren't all that informed. And so I think it's really important that we become informed about these things that are ultimately going to impact upon our lives in one way or another, whether we like it or not. And in doing so and becoming curious and becoming informed, then we're in a much better position to decide for ourselves whether it's a technology that we want to use and how we might use it. Another idea that I also prescribe to is that bad people are going to do bad things with whatever tools they have access to, including AI. So how you utilize it is completely up to you. And I am pretty confident that the people listening to this podcast, you're good people. You want to do the right thing and you've got high morals and you're not out there to trample on anybody else in this industry. And so I really do believe that however AI finds its way into your writing life, it'll be used in such a way that will not be harmful to others. There's my little spiel, because I do know that talking about artificial intelligence can open the door to lots of very strong opinions. And I am really hoping that this episode is met with an open mind. Take what you want to take from it, leave behind anything that does not fit for you and your author life. That is all I'm asking from you. Please don't inundate me with negative posts or emails or anything like that in regards to this. The viewpoints expressed on any of these episodes, unless of course it's a solo episode, are not necessarily my personal ones, but I am pretty upfront and honest when I do agree with something that an author or guest on the podcast shares. And now that I've got that little kind of disclaimer out the way, I do also want to say that this is actually a fantastic episode if you are looking at other ways of creating a solid income from your books and to take back more control of your sales and your interactions with your customers. Today's guest is an amazing author. I've had her on the show a few times. She is a strong believer in manifestation, the law of attraction. I will post in the show notes a couple of links to previous episodes where she talks specifically about how your thoughts and your actions create the life you live and how you can utilize that to move the needle towards your dreams, particularly in the world of writing and selling books. So Carissa will also be sharing her transition to selling direct and having her website move from WordPress to Shopify, and why this just has her so excited about everything right now. And I know that I came away from this episode really inspired and thinking about ways that I could really up my game with increasing my readership for my books and moving that dial, of course, towards more sales and just that wonderful sense of satisfaction that there are more eyes on my words. So even if the AI aspect of this episode is not for you, I do recommend that you listen at least to the first half where we talk a lot about selling direct, and Carissa shares her experience with that so far. So I'm just going to backtrack a little bit because I thought I'll share just a quick little personal update. If you have listened to the previous episode, you will know that I had an upcoming local book signing event that I was attending with 25 or so other authors. The event has come and gone. It was really, really freaking amazing. So much fun. I was an absolute bundle of nerves when I had to get out for my 4-minute little speech and little spiel that I did on my book, Hades Haunt. But it went really well, and there was a pretty solid audience there, and I sold a lot more books than I was expecting to. And one of the things I wasn't expecting was that the sales continued actually throughout the week, which has been really great. One of the other amazing things that came out of this experience, because if you've been listening, you'll know that I've kind of held myself back from being involved locally with selling my books and kind of coming out of the closet as an author. I'm better known probably in countries outside of New Zealand, as I sell majority of my books outside of New Zealand. But one of the amazing things that I got out of this was the networking and connections with other New Zealand authors. And so you can expect in forthcoming episodes for me to be chatting with a lot more Kiwi authors, which will be fun. So you'll be hearing more of this accent. There we are. So that was really, really great. And I hope at some point I'll be able to do a bit of a solo episode where I can talk a little bit more about my experience doing a local event and just some of the amazing things that have come out of it and some of the things that have surprised me and what I would do differently as well. I also want to say, I know this is a long intro here, but thank you so much to all the amazing people who reached out to me after the last episode, episode 60. I had emails and DMs and messages and that just saying that the episode really resonated with them. And some people were saying it was what they felt was my best episode yet. And also a big shout out to Kathleen B. I won't say your last name just in case you don't want it advertised, but who purchased a few coffees through the Buy Me a Coffee app and said some really lovely things too, which really made my day. So I really do appreciate all of you who listen to this podcast, who enjoy this podcast, and who reach out to me. It really does put a smile on my face and make my day. And and if there's anything in particular that you want to hear on this show too, make sure that you do reach out. You can even email me at joe@joebuer.com and give me the heads up on anything that you'd like to hear discussed on this show as well. That would be fantastic. So As I have already mentioned, today I am chatting with best-selling author and one of my favorite people, repeat guest Carissa Andrews. Carissa is an award-winning and internationally best-selling indie author with more than 20 books published. She's the CEO of Author Revolution, an online academy dedicated to helping indie authors become publishing powerhouses. As the host of the Author Revolution podcast, Carissa dives into topics from step-by-step strategies for indie authors to mindset techniques that elevate authors to manifest their millionaire author destiny. So if you're ready to follow me on this journey and dive into our conversation, now is the time to grab a drink, find a comfy chair, sit back, and enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, Carissa. It's so good to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jo. I'm so excited to be back.
Well, there is so much that I want to talk to you about because you are doing so many new and exciting things in changing up the whole way that you're operating your author business, which is really, really cool. So I wanted to talk about some of that today.
Love it.
Cool. And I kind of wanted to start actually because you've been on the show quite a bit. So I'll put all the links to the previous episodes so people can kind of catch up on who you are if they don't know who you are. But
absolutely, I love that.
Yeah. But I want to talk a little bit about how you're changing things up with going a little bit more direct, and you've set up a Shopify website and you're just doing some really cool things. So I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about some of the changes you've made.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So over the past year, I've gone to a number of conferences, and one of the takeaways, you go to these conferences and you should go away with a couple of actionable items that you know for sure you're going to want to take away and implement, right? The big ones for me were I wanted to look more into Kickstarter. I wanted to look more into going and selling direct. And I wanted to look more into automations and how they worked. Those were my three big ones. And I haven't pulled any triggers with Kickstarter just yet because I'm working on a new pen name and I'm thinking about doing it for that pen name. Haven't gotten to that stage yet, but it's in the brewing phase, right? What I could work on, though, was the Shopify store. And I've been looking at authors who are going direct, what they've been doing, how it's been working out for them. I knew I wanted to do a rebrand and revisit my website just to get it working in a way that was faster. I've had the same website on WordPress for a very long time. It was bogged down. It had a lot of stuff in the back end that just was kind of slowing it down. And I wanted it to be fresh and revitalized. But when I was going to these conferences, so many people were talking about direct sales and how it's like revolutionizing the way that things are working for them. And for me, I'm a very curious person by nature. So when people start talking about it, it's like, I have to test it out. I need to see how it works. I have to deconstruct it. I think that's where my son gets that from when he takes apart every like mechanical thing known to man. But I need to go try it. And so for me, I was looking at my website and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm going to check and see how Shopify works because I had a WooCommerce store. It is, attached to my WordPress site. And so I didn't like how it was working. It was a little bit clunky. Obviously, I had a number of series that are still in KU, so I couldn't bring digital copies in there. I hadn't quite pulled the trigger and connected like a Book Vault or a Lulu Press type situation yet. So it was like literally just the signed copies they could get from me and then a couple of ebooks that were not in KU and my audiobooks. But the more I was looking at the way Shopify worked and the more I was seeing how authors are really excited about the connections that Shopify itself kind of creates, the automations that are in the back end that you can incorporate, the more I was like, this is the way I want to go. My first job literally was a bookseller in like a local bookstore. And then I ended up working for Walden Books and I kind of went from there. And so this was like getting to create my own bookstore. How cool is that? Like all of a sudden now I'm creating all these products and all these variants of the products. And I'm like, ooh, and then I could bundle these products together and I could do that. So it's like all of a sudden, like all these possibilities started opening up to me and how I could like create my products, my books in a way that I can entice the readers to, dig in new ways. I can start sharing coupons or, bundles at discounts. I can do so many different things that I can't do on other retailers, right? And so I was like, you know what? I want to do this. I want to get into it. I can do merch in there. I can like do birthday like discounts in there. I like all sorts of cool things. And it's just like triggered my happy bookseller heart. And so, yeah, I've been working on my Shopify store from moving from WordPress and it's been phenomenal. It's been so much fun to play around with. It's been easy to work with. I've had a couple of like blips here and there, but for the most part, it's just been super cool. I love it.
It really does look so fresh. Like that word that you said, when you said fresh, that is exactly how it looks. Because I went and checked out your website, your new website and everything.
Yes.
And yeah, it looks so good, so clean, so easy to use. Yeah, really, really
And it's
cool.
so friendly for the user. Like if they come to the store and they're, so I changed everything in the back end of all of my books to point to my store. That was the first thing. Well, other than taking a few of my series that are currently in KU out, so they will be ending like by September. My Windhaven books and my Diana Hawthorne books are going to be out of KU, so that I can bundle the ebooks in various ways that I can't obviously do if they're in KU. They're already ready to go in the back end. Like literally, I just need to put the trigger on, turn it on, and be like, woof, once they're out of KU. And so I'm very excited about all the different ways that I can like mix and match and do things. And I've been brainstorming with my PA Jenny about like different kinds of merch that we can create, and like all sorts of things are coming. They're just not obviously there yet because it's like a work in progress. And let me tell you, when you think you only have a couple books, like, right, it's only like 23 books. It's fine. That's it. That's all I've got. Then all of a sudden you realize there's 4 variants for each of those books. It's like signed book and paperback book and audiobook and ebook and all the things. And you're like, okay, so those 23 just went in increased by 4 times. So it was an interesting endeavor, but it's been worth it. It's been so much fun just to create it.
Yeah. Honestly,
I love that stuff.
It looks so good. That must have been such a big jump, though, pulling your books from KU, because you're primarily a KU author, aren't you? Or do you go wide with some of your books as well?
I'm half and half, but my bigger series, the ones that have been like the money makers for sure, have been KU books. But those 2 that I'm bringing out have been in KU for a number of years now. So I'm kind of like, you know what? It's time for them to come out. I want to start seeing what I can do. And with the KU page reads, rate going down and down and down, it's getting to the point where you'd have to sell 3 books, have 3 book reads. Oh my gosh, see if I can talk today. 3 books read in KU in order to equal 1 sale. And it's like, okay, as much as I want to be accessible to my readers in the ways that they're reading my books, I kind of feel like it's time to start training them to be okay with, buying directly from the creators. And I know Gen Alpha and maybe a little bit of Gen Z, I guess they're starting to come up a bit. They are used to working with creators, content creators. They were the YouTube kids. They were, working with the YouTube content creators, and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this creator. I need to buy their merch from their merch store. Well, guess what? It's a Shopify store. They've been using Shopify. YouTube creators have been using it for a long time. And so those audiences, those younger readers, the store looks familiar to them. They understand how to navigate it. They know that they want to support their creator that they love, right? And so for them, it's very easy to transition to buying books directly from the authors. I think it's going to take a little bit more time to get, people who are a little bit older, maybe my age, whatever, to transition to sell, because everyone's a little bit skeptical of buying directly from someone's, website. It's like, oh, is this really a thing? But I think the more authors that are doing it, the more that they're going to realize, hey, we're all using the system, that it all looks very similar. It's all working the same, that it's going to be a lot easier for them to also purchase as well. And it's just, look at Taylor Swift, for crying out loud, biggest like artist in history. She has a Shopify store. So moms and dads who are buying merch for their kids, if they're not already a Swiftie, they're used to Shopify stores, right?
Yeah, that's true. And there is something about the Shopify, just the setup and that I don't know, it does set it apart from your normal author website. Like it looks that next level sophisticated, and I don't know how to describe it, but
it's like having a bookstore. It's seriously. And it's no longer like, here's my website, here's a little bit about me, I really hope you like me and my stuff. It's gone from that to like, here's my books, here's the store, get some cool deals when you buy it from me. Like, let's have this wonderful experience in the genre you love to read and get some like cool bonuses from the author. Like, so many cool ways that you can incorporate like free stuff and sell merch that can be combined with it, and they'll get the free, bookmark because they bought this book, or in like all sorts of ways you can connect things. It's so cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
I really, really like it. So I went and I had a bit more of a look about it because I've been hearing about Shopify, but hadn't really looked into it until kind of looking at your website and everything. And unfortunately, being on this side of the world, New Zealand, everything is, of course, in US dollars and is like double here in New Zealand.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a little bit on the steep side. But so here's my question for you then. Where in your author journey do you think somebody should maybe consider doing Shopify? Like, do you think it's going to work best for those people with a really established readership who are already like maybe got a couple of series? Or do you think maybe times are changing and people should start right from the beginning with considering Shopify? What's your thoughts on that?
So originally, when I was getting everything ready, I was thinking I'm going to just do Shopify with the new rom-com pen name as it comes out. I'll switch everything over come January when I'm getting ready to do the pre-orders and all the things. And the more I was researching, the more I found that when you have a backlist, that's when Shopify can work best, because obviously you can put in apps in the back end that can recommend other books that are similar or that other people have purchased. You can give frequently bots together. There's a lot of different ways that it will mix and match in the back end for you to be able to maximize how many sales you're getting from your store and from everything that you're trying to put out there. So authors who have a backlist already are probably going to benefit the most from it first because of the options. It's just the way that it works, right? It's that cumulative unfair advantage, as Joe Solari puts it. And so it's about having the options just to be able to entice them to buy. But at the same time, if you're an author who knows you're going to be around for a while, you know that your books, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to just fly by night. Oh, if this didn't work, then I'm not going to, whatever. If you know this is your thing and you're going to go, I would just start off as you mean to go on, because as your books grow, as that backlist grows, the options are going to grow with it. You're going to be training your readers from the get-go how to purchase from you and, give them that like readership community right off the bat. And I think that is going to set you apart long-term as you're going on, because it's just, the way that it works and the way that you can create such unique and wonderful benefits for readers, it is unparalleled. And so it just depends on you. If money is tight, if it's an issue to purchase and pay the $29 a month to use Shopify and the however much it is for getting the reviews or Klaviyo or any of the things, right? If the other apps are a problem and the monthly fee is an issue, then just wait a little bit. Wait until your sales are coming in before you can justify it, right? But be thinking about it. Like as soon as you could go, okay, I think I could afford the 50 some odd dollars a month based off of my royalties coming in, and it's going to cover this new store. Start moving towards that direction, right? Because it's going to pay dividends down the road. I think this is really the direction indie authorship is going. And, as much as I love, the retailers, as much as I love the opportunities that Amazon has presented for us authors, I think there comes a time where we have to take ownership of our own creations and start building that readership and that collaboration with our readers in new and better ways. So, you can't get the email addresses from the people who buy from Amazon, from Barnes & Noble, from wherever. You can't have that communication or that relationship with them that you can have when they've purchased from your store. And now all of a sudden you can, talk to them. You can say, hey, why didn't you, there's abandoned cart flows. There's ways that you can communicate with people who are looking and they didn't purchase. It's amazing what you can do in the back end of Shopify. I'm still floored with all the different ways that you can do things. And I'm uncovering new stuff every single day where I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so cool. Yeah.
It is so exciting. And there has been a change in the indie author sphere anyway, where I've been seeing a lot of people who made the majority of their income in that from KU going wide lately. Like more and more people are pulling out of that and looking at going wide across the other platforms. And there's just a lot of those kind of changes in that, which is, yeah, pretty exciting. So, yeah. And I saw on your Shopify website too, as I was exploring in that, I'm like, well, this is so cool because you've brought all your reviews over with you. So,
right.
Yeah. So is that pretty seamless to do?
I didn't bring all of them. The way that the app works, it brings in some of the reviews.
Okay.
So it caps it at a certain number when you're trying to bring them all in. So it's not like there are some of the books that I have like 900 reviews or ratings. Okay. And so it brings like 50 or 100 or you can pull in a certain number. I can't remember what the max is. I just kind of went with the default at first just to see how it works. people are divided by like that review aspect of it. Some people are like, never use that sort of app because heaven forbid the content that is created from a review is copyrighted by technically the person who wrote it. And then there are others where it's like, if they're putting it on your page, they've already given you via public domain the review for that particular book. So use your own judgment when it comes to that. I personally wanted to put it on there because I want the readers to see that these aren't just like books that no one has ever seen before, right? That it's not just like a fake website and whatever. I wanted people to be able to see that these are actual reviews. There are actual people who have purchased this book and who have read the book and whatever. So just use your own judgment. I know Morgana Best definitely says, don't do it. Don't use those apps. And I just personally just chose for myself that I wanted to have them included, at least for now. If someone says, tomorrow, oh my gosh, don't do it, you're going to tank your entire author career by doing it, then I'll take it down. It is what it is. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I liked seeing the reviews there because I think you're right. Like for anybody that maybe heard about you through word of mouth or something like that, hadn't, been following you for a while, didn't know your books or anything, it gives a little bit of that legitimacy that,
It helps them to understand and read it. Yeah, when they read those reviews and go, oh, okay. And even if they see it and go, I'm still not sure. And I think that's part of the reason why I didn't incorporate all of the reviews.
Yeah.
Like if they see my store and there's only, 50, 75, whatever reviews on there, but then they go over to Amazon and there's 900 reviews, they're going to know, like, obviously I've been around for a while. This is something that they can, check out on. If they want to purchase from Amazon, have at it. But like even in the back end of all of my books, as soon as the store was live, I changed the back matter so that anything that says leave a review or get book 2, whatever, all of it's pointing to my Shopify store instead of pointing to Amazon, which is how I used to have it, or using a books to read link if they are wide. And for me, it's been nice because there's a lot of, organic visibility of the store coming through those links through the back ends of the books. And they're able to, if nothing else, see that I have a store that they can purchase directly from. It's that kind of, subliminal marketing where it's like, you could buy from me directly if you'd like, but of course you can go over to Amazon or wherever you bought book 1 or book 3 or, whatever. It really doesn't matter to me, but I want them going to my store first,
That's cool. That's really cool. And then just because, I'm kind of following what you're doing and everything. And then you put out a thing on like Instagram and that you're quitting social media, which like is just so shocking. No,
that was earlier this year, Joe. What are you talking about?
No, I know. Well, I think it's earlier this year, but it's one of those things that I think so many of us are like, we always hear you have to be on social media. It's the only way you're going to get that visibility. And, it's one of those, you should. And then
it's like, what visibility? I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but like organic visibility has tanked.
It really has.
It really has. It's been terrible. It's like, okay. Yeah. So for me, earlier this year, I was just getting burnt out. I do social media for Author Revolution still. And so I'm doing a lot of that anyway. But for my author side, I just wanted to test, especially with that one, for whatever reason, the engagement there was just going down and down and down. I'm like, you know what? I'm not having as much fun as I used to have. And so I'm going to open a Patreon page and I'm going to do stuff there instead. And rather than using, like Amazon's Kindle Vella or anything like that, any kind of platform that allows you to, serialize your fiction as you're writing it, I chose to do it with Patreon instead, where if I'm writing a work in progress, they can get the story as I'm writing it. They'll get mini-fics, they'll get, social media content as I would normally post it. Those ones are actually public. And so I use that. Basically using Patreon as my social platform. And so people will get, the live public posts that I would normally post on my social media stuff. Every once in a while, I will still post on social. So it's not a complete give up. I have like when I've had a new book launch, I'm like, hey guys, in case that I'm still here, because then all of a sudden Facebook's like, oh my God, this person who hasn't posted in the past 6 months just posted something. You should check it out. So then it actually works toward your benefit, right? But Patreon's been great because when I'm posting the information, I have like 3, it's so funny. I was talking with Becca Stein about this. I'm like, I love it so much more. I have 5 people who are on my Patreon who are paid patrons. I have way more people who are following the open stuff, right? The 5 people who are paid are so engaged And it's so much fun because now I get to have conversations about the works in progress. I get to like know a little bit more about them. It's been fun to go back and forth, and they get signed copies when things are done because that's the level that they're at. And it's just overall, it has a more inclusive, fun vibe. And I found by talking to Becca that I'm a number one relator. And so that strength likes to have like a close knit group of people. So I am way more happy posting on social media with 5 people responding to me than I am hollering into the void of like nothingness. And so that's just been a lot of fun. And I've actually decided that I'm going to continue doing it that way, where Patreon's my place. If anyone wants to find me, come there. Yes, I'll still post, on the rare occasion on other social media, but for the most part, I'm all in with Patreon. It's been so much fun. Plus, they get cool stuff. Like I've got merch set up on there where they can get exclusive Patreon merch for my stuff, and it's just been so much fun. I love it.
So exciting. It is so cool watching you do all these fun things. So, so cool.
Hopefully it's inspiring people too, not to just be like, it might work for her. No, it's you get to have anything. If you want it to work for you, let it work for you.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. And just because where my mindset has been, you were one of the people that talked about Claire Taylor and the Enneagram, I think, in one of our previous conversations. And then, I purchased her book and I had her on the show. And then you just brought up Becca Syme and Strengths Finder. And so my brain at the moment is very much in that we are all individuals. Find your strengths, know your Enneagram, find your strengths, and then create your author career around who you are and what works for you. And
I love it.
Yeah. And because I think particularly when you're starting out, we get really bombarded with, this is the one and only way that you are going to be able to make money. And we should all fit into this one box and do everything like this. And so
does that work for anyone?
No, I really don't think
it doesn't.
It does. No, it doesn't. And so it's so cool seeing you, just going out there and doing different things, which is really cool. Yay. And then because, so there's just so much cool stuff that you're doing. You have something else really exciting on the horizon here that I want you to talk about, which as we amp up towards NaNoWriMo in November, you've got a bit of I'm not sure if you're calling it a course or a masterclass or what, but maybe you can talk a little bit about what you've got on the horizon there for our lovely listeners as well.
Absolutely. So in the past, I've run this thing called the 3-Day Plan Your Series Challenge. And it's been so much fun as a Preptober ramp up to getting ready to NaNoWriMo that I just kind of have been feeling this vibe of I wanted to expand it. I wanted to bring it out to 5 days instead of 3, because that was some of the feedback I was getting. Like there was so much good stuff in that final day and they wished they had just a little more time, even though technically they had a full week. But I wanted to entice them by this like 3-day thing. Like we can do this in 3 days. And so I've been playing around with this idea of like wanting to do the Plan Your Series Challenge, but extend it a little bit. And then on top of it, I was talking with my husband about the ways that I've been changing my process and the way that I've been changing the way that I do series creation, the way that I do my outlining process, the way that I do ideation when it comes to trying to get ideas for a scene or for like characters or like even Enneagrams, right? And AI is a big part of that. So I've been using ChatGPT for quite a while, probably the majority of this year, to come up with, series concepts, story outlines, figure out characters, like using Claire Taylor's Enneagram and trying to use ChatGPT to create a character based off of an X Enneagram, right? Not X, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so using one of the numbers, like a 9 Enneagram, whatever. So it's been so much fun just to play around with ChatGPT, figure out how it works best in my process. And I'm not one to follow trends. And so it never occurred to me to create a course on AI. Like there are plenty of people out there doing courses on AI. They're talking about it. They're doing the thing. But for whatever reason, I was really struggling with, I wasn't like really excited about the Plan Your Series extension. And all of a sudden those two things came together where I'm like, oh my God, my process has changed so much. I should really be doing a new course, a different course, because there are going to be people, obviously, maybe even some of your listeners who are like, don't tell me this is another person with AI stuff. Yuck, right? Even my own PA has turned on me. She is like very black and white. She doesn't want to hear anything to do with AI at all. Like don't even talk to her. But for me, I am not new technology averse. I love to play with new technology. I love to see how it's going to work. I love to test it. I love to, like, I don't make judgments until I've already dug around in it and figured it out a little bit so that I can know whether or not I like it. And so since I've been using AI, and since it's going to be a different process than people who would normally like create a series, from using tools like Scapple or Scrivener or, searching around in Amazon or whatever, I'm creating a brand new course. It's actually a course. And rather than being a challenge, it's kind of like a challenge because it's still going to be only 5 days and it's going to be a live launched course. It's called 4 Books, 5 Days, Mastering AI Enhanced Series Planning. So we're going to use a lot of the same concepts that I have in the 3-day planner series challenge, except for I'm using all AI technologies in how I'm building it. So I'm going to walk through how I'm using ChatGPT, how I'm using pseudo-write. I might even get into talking about Midjourney and how I've been using it for ads, for using images for my website, things like that. I haven't decided if that's going to go into it just yet, because for the most part, when you're planning a series, you're going to want to be working mostly with the series concept and all that. So I'm not quite sure if I'm going to go into imagery at all. But yeah, so we've got day 0. We're going to be talking about mindset because let's face it, AI, it's a whole new ball game, guys. And so we're going to be talking about mindset and why it's important to be looking at this through the lens of curiosity instead of, immediately putting up the shields and being like, this is the worst idea ever. Because I think, that's human nature, right? Something new comes along and it's so vastly different. It's upsetting the industry. So you're going to pick sides. It's, pro or it's against, and it's like all this craziness. And we really don't need to be in that. I think this is the future of creation. This is the future of the way that creators are going to create the things that they create. And those that refuse to at least look at it or acknowledge it, they're going to get left behind a little bit. Doesn't mean that their stuff isn't going to eventually like still be amazing and sell incredible. It doesn't mean any of that, but it will mean that they're not operating probably at their best, highest game, because there are some really cool tools. Really, it's like Shopify, but really cool tools to be able to help you to ideate, right? And so for me, we've got day 1, we're going to be doing AI ideation. We're going to be brainstorming all the things, unleashing ChatGPT in order to create like series concepts, to be, coming up with ideas of what is it that we really want to tell? What genre is it? We're going to use AI, ChatGPT to do that. Day 2 is going to be AI assisted series concepts. So we're going to talk about like next level or high level concepts when it comes to series. How do we want this series to look? Do we want it to be cohesive? Do we want it to be single titles? Do we, what kind of series are we creating? We're going to talk with ChatGPT about that. Day 3 is AI infused character and world building. So we'll be going into all the things character and world building. So we'll be talking about Enneagrams probably. We'll be talking about how you can create some really unique, awesome things using ChatGPT, because it's fun. It's like having the best critique and or like writing partner in the world. I swear to God, it's so cool. Day 4, we're going to talk about your series choices and enhanced plotting techniques. So we're going to kind of dig a little bit more into all of the goodies when it comes to, your series, the amount of words that you're going to write, what's it going to look like? How often are you going to be writing all those things? I'll also give like a Scrivener world building template. So that's going to be incorporated in that as well. Day 5 is outlining your books. So then we're going to actually get into the nitty gritty of getting 4 books planned. So that's why it's called 4 Books, 5 Days. We're going to plan out the series. So get the series concept organized. Then we are going to actually outline all 4 books. And we're trying to get it all organized and ready to go before NaNoWriMo starts in November. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to just dig into all the ways that ChatGPT can really help. We've got a Q&A that's actually going to be happening on the 7th. So a live Q&A. So anyone who is a part of the course can come in, talk about it. And if they are using it in different ways, I'm really going to be, paying attention to that, because I want to see how others are using it. I'm by no means like the be all end all expert on this. I just know how I've been using it and how much fun it's been. So that's kind of what the whole process is going to be all about. We're going to be doing so much fun stuff with it. And yeah, so the course, it goes October 1st through the 7th. And that's going to be the entire week that it is. But the main course itself is going to be that Monday, the 2nd through the 6th. And we're just going to talk AI and talk about how this is revolutionizing our content creation. I personally think that the way that we use AI is important. So I'm not using it as, my entire, like, it's not writing my books for me. It's not coming up with everything for me. I am playing around with pseudo write a little bit. It might be incorporated into the course by that point. I'm not quite sure yet because I'm still developing the course out. But it's something that I'm just playing with. And I know you and I were talking before we started. It slows me down, actually. Like pseudo write is amazing. But here's the problem. It's like when you ideate with AI, now it's like you're creating part of a scene, you're highlighting it and saying, hey, expand on this thing. And you expand on it, it creates more information. You have to sift through that information, decide, is this stuff I want to use? Or do I need to change it? Most of the time, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to need to change it and tweak it a little bit. But there's golden nuggets in there that you go, ooh, I really like how it described that thing or brought out that point or, whatever. And so it slows you down a little bit. Maybe it'll get faster because as you use it, pseudo write, from what I understand, remembers what you're writing. It remembers your writing style. And so it tries to deliver information and scenes that are written more to your tone. But I don't know. It's something that I literally just started playing with yesterday. So there's so many options. There's so many cool ways to be able to utilize the technology that's helping us to get unstuck. It's helping us to do those outlines that everyone dreads. It's helping us create book blurbs that everyone hates, like it's helping us to create ads that are like selling books. There's all sorts of ways that you can utilize AI technology, and it's been fun to play with. So if you come at it with that, this is fun to play with and that curiosity, I think you're going to be setting yourself up for major success down the road.
I'm really loving everything you said there. And because you're not using it to write a book for you, you're using it as a writing partner, like you said, to bounce ideas off and to just like you would, a human. It's just another aspect of doing that, which I think is really cool. Yeah.
Right.
Like
you
that.
use tools like templates. You use tools like Scapple to be able to mind map. You use tools like your best friend going, I don't know what to do in this scene. It's no different from that. Really. It's just that particular tool is there whenever you need it. You don't have to wait for them to get off work or to wake up or,
People are very, very divided when it comes to AI. And my approach is be curious and get informed, because there are some huge generalizations out there, I think, in people who have very strong opinions about AI that may not necessarily be as informed as they could be. And so you're saying, as you're just starting to play around with pseudo, right, that, that your understanding is that over time, it starts to recognize your writing style and will start to work in your favor a little bit with giving you ideas in that. Do you have, because I know this is a big fear for a lot of people, do you have the fear that as you're using this as a brainstorming tool and you're feeding in information and it's starting to learn your writing style, that other people will be able to steal your writing style because it'll use that to further develop its algorithm of doing things? Is that a fear that sits with you at all, or are you not concerned?
First of all, that is so flattering if they would do that. Second of all, I tend not to go to fear if I can help it. Like, we're all human and we all kind of go towards different fears. Like, my fear right now is that I suck at writing rom-coms because I'm halfway through this thing and I don't want to screw it up, right? But I'm not afraid of people like taking it. I'm not afraid of that happening. When we look at the overall, like, the internet is vast. And if we think that they can't take the books that we've already written and published and do the same thing, we're kidding ourselves, right? So when I'm using something like ChatGPT, or if I'm using something like pseudo-write, to me, it's like, okay, it could mimic me for sure, but it's not going to have that specific idea that is in my head. It's not going to know where I'm truly trying to go with this. It's all based off of my prompts. It's all based off of the way that I'm trying to get it to do the thing I want it to do. So it's not going to create the story I've already been sitting here brewing about. And while it could maybe it get to the point where it creates wonderful stories, we're always going to be creating something that is unique to us. We're always going to be creating something that's from our soul, calling us out and wanting us to create it. And so I'm not scared of that at all. I feel like maybe we'll have some growing pains where, we have to have some laws enforced and things have to happen down the road. And that's par for the course. That's part of growth. And so we can't always hold ourselves back from growth just because we're scared of what could happen. We need to embrace, like, what happens if it goes really well? What if this speeds up my process? What if this makes my writing even better than I thought it could? What if it gives me some really cool ideas that I didn't think of? And now I've just created a series that's even more phenomenal than I thought it would be. That's more what I try to veer towards. And, every once in a while you still get stuck in those like, oh gosh, I hope this doesn't suck. I hope I don't like screw this up and people hate my characters. Right. But at the same time, it's like, we can't hold ourselves back from that type of growth and that type of evolution. This is an evolution in the way that we're going to start creating our books. It's just how it's working, and no amount of fear is going to stop it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you with that. And I think at the end of the day, nobody, no person, no AI is ever going to be able to write your story. And you are an author, so you're going to be writing stories regardless of if there's AI or there's not AI. You're still going to be writing these stories. So yeah, I do think it's something that we definitely need to be curious and we need to be open about. And we need to also keep in perspective too that bad people are going to do bad stuff, right? So there are going to be,
and they're doing it now, even before AI.
Yeah. Yeah. Books are being pirated all the time. People are, stealing other authors' books, putting them under different names or writing trash or using AI just as it is and then putting it out under other authors' names. And
right. What is that? That is crazy.
But it's actually, that's not new. That's not going to change. That's actually been around for a long time and people are going to unfortunately continue to do that. Yeah, this gives them another way of doing that and other tools to do that, I guess. Right. But I think if you've got a strong readership and you've got your connections with your readers, they're going to know that, if a book is yours, if it's written with your authentic voice and
around to that direct store too. When you have your direct store, you're controlling that narrative.
Absolutely.
So they could put as many weird things up on Amazon as they want. And as you're fighting to get them taken down or disconnected from your Author Central or whatever, your store still has only your books. It's not any of that other nonsense, right? So you have that ability to control the narrative and all the books that you have and how you're communicating with your readers. And you get to decide how they get to work with your books, right? So it kind of comes at full circle. So
it does.
I don't know. I don't think that we should be afraid of it, especially if we are working towards becoming the ultimate entrepreneurs that we are, creative entrepreneurs, and having this become, a true business and treating it like a business.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you're doing some really exciting things. And I first stumbled upon you actually through doing your 3-day plan your series challenge, like, I don't know, like a few years ago. But that's actually how you first came into my sphere, like how I first learned about you. So so that was really cool. And I think we need to be open-minded and we need to explore and be curious and then decide if it works for us or if it doesn't. But you're literally saying that you're primarily at this point just using it to help you plan, to be that idea partner and brainstorm in that with.
Absolutely. And do some of the more tedious tasks that I don't really want to put a whole lot of brain power in, like blog posts or social media posts. When I do them, I can be like, hey, ChatGPT, here's like 3 examples of stuff that I've written in the past. Create a new social media post that mirrors this sentimentality. Help me out. And then it gives me some ideas. I edit it quick and off it goes. I don't have to put a whole ton of thought into it. Where normally that would take me 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, to create a post that really is speaking to the same messaging or whatever. And so it just helps me to free up more time so that I'm not having to spend as much doing tasks that aren't necessarily going to be, I don't want to make it sound like money is the only thing, but it's not a money maker, right? When you're putting a social media post, it's that connection piece. And when you're putting it out onto a social site that is, throttling who gets to see what, it's like, it's low on my sense of priorities at this point.
It's using your time efficiently so you can put more of your energies and that into what really matters for you. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
I'd much rather be creating courses and writing books.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you've got a really good deal, I think, too, for the pre-launch of this course for the rest of this month, for August, really, don't you? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in the past, my Plan Your Series Challenge was free when I launched it in October. This time, I want to try to help people understand the value of it. And I know with AI, it's quite a polarizing thing anyway. So I don't want the freebie people coming in and railing on it. So I'm like, I'm going to put a price tag on it. It's going to be really low for the live launch. And so right now, like you said, we have a pre-launch pricing until the end of August. So it's $27. Yes, you get the whole thing. You get lifetime access. You get to come to the Q&A, all the things. all the downloads, all the things. And then in September, it's going to go up to $47 before the live launch. Once we are finished and like Preptober is underway, we're now heading towards Nano, I'll probably increase the pricing to $147. So FYI, if you're interested, I would definitely hop in now. Even if you don't come to the live launch, even if you can't come to the live launch, everything's going to be inside my course platform, which is called Kajabi. So you'll be able to have access to all the replays, the videos, all the things. So it's going to be a great opportunity for people to get it at a much lower price, but then know that the people who are there are along with you, who are curious, who want to be there and check things out and test it and just see how authors are utilizing it. And so it's going to be like, no, I'm just so looking forward to seeing how others are using it and see how, like, are there new ways that we can incorporate into the whole thing as well? Because for me, it's been so much fun to play with AI, to play with ChatGPT, mostly that's been my biggest one, and Midjourney, but that's for images. And so just developing out new story ideas and coming up with outlines that I would never have done before. Like I can go through and make the best outline myself where I have, chapter by chapter synopses. But if my story starts to shift, which sometimes it does, I changed my ending 3 times for Midlife Wolf Mate 3 times. I can put in, like I can have it go through my chapter. So like in the same chat, I can do one chapter at a time, say, here, give me a 5-sentence synopsis of this chapter. Okay, here's the next chapter. Give me a 5-sentence chapter synopsis until I get to the point where I'm now stopped and say, okay, what would you recommend as the remainder of this outline if there are 30 chapters, let's say? It'll give me what it thinks the next like outline of the chapter, like how the story arc should look. If you give it the right prompts, talk about what the genre is and the whole 9 yards, it'll take a look at what you've already written and tell you like, well, this is what we would recommend for the rest of this story arc. And then you could look at it and go, I didn't even think about incorporating that. That's really cool. Or, whatever. And then you add it to your own outline. It's so cool. It's so cool. Because sometimes, even as creatives and even as much as we know about story structure, sometimes it just helps to have another set of eyes take a look at it and go, hey, your story structure really could use this thing. And then you're like, holy crap, yeah, I could. Okay, I'll add that in there. Cool. So it's just it's all the different ways that I've used it or tested it. It's just been super fun to play around with.
That is so cool. It's really good hearing that positivity right now and that, around it. Because,
they get so polarized.
Yeah. It really is. So I'm really pleading to my listeners right now, come at this with curiosity and with that willingness to be well-informed, give it a go. I think we can only be in control of how we utilize these tools. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if you're only curious about it and you never use ChatGPT ever, this course is going to I'll have videos that are going to walk people through like the process of how it's going to work. So there will be screenshot type situations happening and people can understand like how I'm using it, how the output happens, what it looks like. So even if they don't do it for themselves, even if they don't try to incorporate it, they've now informed themselves in a way that maybe they wouldn't have even done for themselves. That's powerful because knowledge is power. And if you're just going to, poo-poo it and say that this is nothing that we need to be worried about, I'm really concerned about that a little bit because this is not going away. You can tell. The industry is using it everywhere. Like we're talking on large scales. Industry is moving towards this in droves. I work for a technology company as like a part-time thing that I've been doing for years because the company is so wonderful. The people are wonderful. And I have a hard time letting them go. I probably should have let them go years ago, but I'm still working with them. And as one of my freelance clients back in the day when I was doing freelance social media, I started working with them. But what's super cool about it is that because I'm working with their social media, I'm able to see what larger companies are doing, like how they're incorporating technology like ChatGPT and generative AI and how it's changing the face of just bigger, larger industries. And I'm like, yeah, authors, we can't be thinking small here. We need to be listening to people like Joanna Penn, who's been talking about this for a very long time, because I would wager if she was talking to Becca Simon, maybe she's already done so. I'll bet futuristic is like her number one. It must be because she has been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. I feel like I have heard her say that maybe she's quite high with the futuristic. And
Yeah.
anybody that's ever listened to Joanna Penn or followed her knows that, she has a heart of gold. She's not doing anything that is
She
going
blows
to,
my mind.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
She blows my mind with the amount of knowledge she has on this industry and everything that she has done and studied and incorporated and taught. It's incredible.
yeah.
I want to be her when I grow up.
I know, right? I know. I
Yeah.
feel that way. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, it's so that's so exciting. You are doing so many phenomenal things out there, and
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
we're not going to be able to squash down AI. Like once these things are out of the box, they're not going anywhere. That like it's
Yeah.
here to stay. So it does come down to us and how we are going to use these tools, remembering their tools. And yeah, it shouldn't change who we are innately as a person.
Do you remember back in the day, like when websites first started coming out and people were talking about website stores, like Amazon was such a controversial thing back in the day? Like it's the same thing, guys. We've had this same reaction to all new big technologies that are coming out from the dawn of time. Like probably when we went from stone tablets to paper, people were freaking out, right?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just par for the course. This is the way that we incorporate new technology. There's going to be those early adopters. There's going to be, the stragglers, and eventually the rest of the world is going to come around to it. And it doesn't have to be something you use all the time. It can just be something you use once in a while. Like if you're stuck, use it and just have a chat with ChatGPT, because that's the chat part, right?
Yeah.
And see if you can get yourself unstuck. Find a way to talk to it that it gives you ideas about your story.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to create the words for your story.
No.
You can just literally have a chat with it. It's not going anywhere.
That's cool. That's so cool. So I hope my listeners really kind of jump on board with checking out your 5-day course then, or your week-long course. And yeah, because not only is it fantastic to prep for NaNoWriMo or your new series or whatever, just to explore some of those tools and how they might or might not fit into your writing routine and things like that too.
Absolutely. And even if you don't have 4 books that you're planning, it says 4 books, 5 days. That's because in my signature course, Rapid Release Roadmap, we focus on 4 books, right? Because that's just a good editorial calendar and structure to be able to continue to get your books out there, build your backlist as quickly as you possibly can without going completely burnout crazy, right? And so if you only have 1 book that you want to create this year for this time frame, that's okay. You can just take a look at it and modify it for how you want to create your book or your series. Or if it's not a series and it's simply just a single book, that's okay too. The tools are going to make sense regardless of how you're creating your books. It's just that I would like to create things that are tied to other things that make sense as you move from one thing to the next thing, so that it's not just okay, how do I have to figure out how to connect the dots with this? You know what I mean? But it's very useful no matter what type of story you're trying to create.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm just so stoked to have you back on the show. And I know my head is just popping with ideas now, from everything from your Shopify to your Patreon to, and to how you're using or utilizing AI to help you with story structure and ideas and things like that. That's really cool. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all that.
Always. Thank you for having me, Jo. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you.
Here are some takeaways from today's show. 1. Consider using Shopify to sell direct for its versatility with creating bundles, selling books and merch, connecting readers, and for taking back control of your author career. 2. Shopify works best when you have a backlist, but there is also power in starting off how you plan to go on. 3. People are divided about transferring reviews over to Shopify. Do what you feel is best. 4. Consider using Patreon as a replacement for connecting with readers through social media. 5. Get curious and informed about AI. Have a play with it and consider how you can use it as a tool to help your writing and idea generation. 6. Bad people are going to do bad things with whatever tools are at their disposal, including AI. How you use it is up to you. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found yourself inspired in one way or the other, whether it's to look at selling direct or considering Shopify in lieu of other types of websites, or to experiment a bit with AI for idea generation and for world building with your stories. I am always recommending Carissa's courses because I have enrolled in so many of them myself, and she really is the real deal. She has a heart of gold, and her courses are phenomenal, and they really do help elevate your author career when you follow them and spend the time and energy putting them into practice. So if you are like me and you want to sign up, actually, I have already signed up, but if you're interested in signing up to her new upcoming course in October, 4 books, 5 days course, Mastering AI Enhanced Series Planning, then I will have the link to do so in the show notes. It is an affiliate link. I am an affiliate of all of Carissa's courses, I think, because I honestly do just think they're phenomenal. So if you're one of these open-minded people who want to be curious and get informed about how AI can be a tool to help you plan your books, then I highly recommend that you join up now before the end of August, because you get to join at the phenomenal price of only $27. In September, the price is going to go up to $47. And then after the actual course in October, it is increasing again. So I personally, I'm not sure that I will use AI to plan any of my series, but I am certainly curious and have enrolled just to check it out myself. And because I really did get so much from her original 3-day Plan Your Series challenge way back in maybe 2020, before I had actually connected with Carissa. So like I said, the link to that will be in the show notes. I will also have links to Carissa's previous interviews on this show, where she talks a little bit more towards manifesting your dream author career. And I'll also put in the episode links to Becca Symes and Claire Taylor when they were on Alchemy for Authors, just because their names came up a lot in today's interview in regards to Strengths Finders and the Enneagram and how we can utilize our strengths to build an author career that works for us. I just want to end with a big thank you again to all those who reached out after the last show. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you to Kathleen for buying me a few coffees. It was very, very appreciated. And of course, if you want to buy me a coffee, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Joe Buer. That goes towards helping me put out more of these interviews and to keep writing and to do all this wonderful content creation for other authors and for readers and for everybody else. So if you have enjoyed this episode, do reach out to me. That's amazing. Leave a rating or a review. That is always, always appreciated. Or tell another author, tell another writer, tell a friend. That would be fantastic too. So there we are, my lovelies. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you stick around for episode 62, where I will be chatting with an amazing guest who is going to share all her tips and tricks for writing amazing blurbs. That is not one that you're going to want to miss. But until then, my friends, I am wishing you a wonderful writing week ahead. Bye for now.